Hello, interwebs. It's Josh coming to you with this week's Tarot Snapshot. Just to get it out of the way, so you know that you should be settling in for a little bit. This is roughly a 10-minute video, a 3-card reading that I do every Sunday, just for the heck of it. And I hope that any of the wisdom that I can pass through from Spirit, from Tarot, might actually help somebody in their day-to-day life. That's my hope. That's my intention. Now, that being said, I gotta shuffle the deck 5 times and we'll get into it. But I want to tell you about something really cool that happened yesterday for me. I am rather utilitarian when it comes to the clothes that I wear. I don't put a lot of thought into it. I'm not very a fashionable person. I wear a black t-shirt most often with a flannel shirt. Different colored flannels that I like just because that's me and that's what works for me. And I'm utilitarian, practical, I guess, in that way. Yesterday, as I was heading out, getting ready to go, I didn't wear a black t-shirt. I have a Superman shirt at my house that I usually wear as a pajama shirt, just like a house shirt. I don't want to be the guy walking around thinking I'm fucking Superman. Excuse my French. So I don't want to be that guy. But I wore the Superman shirt yesterday, and it was under another shirt. I know, kind of like a fashion faux pas, like pattern, flannel. I just did it. My second session of the day yesterday was taken back because her father used to color the Superman comic book covers for DC Comics. And that just blows me away that I would have just heard that in the beginning of the morning and gotten that message. And I guess the reason why I would bring that up is because it's pretty cool. That's very cool that happened. The other reason I would bring that up is because I think it's important for us to know that Spirit is with us all the time. I really do think it's important for us to reflect on that. Like, Spirit is with us all the time. And Spirit guides us if we just listen. You know, if I just listened to that message, where if I hadn't, and I just wore my black t-shirts like I usually do, that woman would not have had as cool of an experience with me as she had just by me wearing that t-shirt. That was really cool. And the point of that is that there's no coincidences. So listen when you get those nudges. This 3-card reading, the first card is going to show us where we're at in this moment, who we are, where we're at in this moment. Next card, what vexes and perplexes us, our challenges. Third card, what heals and reveals. So let's get into it. Who are we, including myself, this week? The Tower. Okay. Not the best card. Not the best card. A lot of people don't like the Tower. But let's talk about what the Tower represents. The Tower is based on the myth of the Tower of Babel. Now, I call it a myth, the Tower of Babel in the Bible, because I don't know if they can actually prove that the Tower of Babel existed. And because they can't prove it, it remains a myth. The Tower of Babel in the Bible is the story of the very first human race, language, people. And they were trying to build a tower to God. Built a tall, tall tower. God didn't like that, destroyed the tower, scattered all the humans to the 4 corners of the earth, and that's where we have the different races and the different languages. That's the story of the Bible. Now, the tower represents that which should not have been built in the first place. So I think there's a lot to be said for the inner structures and the things that have been built within us that need to be destroyed. I'll give you for instance. I knew I was gay when I was a very little child, 3 or 4, knew that. Couldn't change it, tried to change it, couldn't. And when I eventually came out of the closet when I was like 28, 29, I had to confront internalized homophobia. Like, I had been taught through culture, through family, through what have you, that being gay was bad, being gay was disgusting, being gay was the abomination, what have you. I didn't even grow up in the church, but I was still getting those messages just from culture. So I did carry internalized homophobia. Didn't like myself, didn't like any of that. and I had to confront it, dismantle it, and destroy it. And as I did, I had my tower moment. So we can see here the crown representing the ego, and this being the destruction of that which shouldn't have been built in the first place. Like, I should not have been given by the world that internalized homophobia. As I dismantled it, I had my own tower moment. Do you see why I like this card? Destruction is still destruction. It's still, it was challenging to go through those parts of my life, but it was worth it. It was worth it. I think that we all have that, gay, straight, or not, that there are things that we have been taught along the way about ourselves, by our families, by culture, what have you, that shouldn't have been built in the first place. The other one that's huge is, think about how many people hate their bodies because they grew up in a culture that said, maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Maybelline. It's important to recognize those programs, how they should not have affected us the way they did, and how we can dismantle it. Think about, and this is just a tragedy for me, think about how many beautiful people are in this world, and especially because this is like, maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Maybelline. There's more of an impact, I think, on women than men, but men still suffer from this, gay or straight. They still suffer from self-esteem issues. But we live in this world that will teach us that we're fat and ugly and that we need a product to make it different. And I just think of all of these beautiful women, men and women, that live 60, 70, 80 years hating their body because their culture told them to. They die and they look back on their life and go, I was beautiful and I can't believe I fell for that horseshit. That's something to consider. So, tower moment. Let's take a look at what vexes and perplexes us. Whoa. So, let's just talk about having two of the bigger, darker cards in tarot here. The devil vexes and perplexes us. Now, the devil in tarot doesn't represent the devil. It represents fear with a capital F, at least to me. How often do we cling to the things that we should let go because we're afraid of who we'd be without them? You know, that idea of, if I hadn't conquered my fear and come out of the closet, let me tell you, the hardest thing in my life that I've ever done is sat down with my parents and told my parents that I was gay. Hardest thing. When I did that, I confronted and I beat the devil. So we oftentimes won't go through these things because we're afraid of what would happen if we do. So this is what vexes and perplexes us. Let's take a look at the card that heals and reveals. The Knight of Wands. All right. Why are we here? What are we doing? Why are you living? And what are you living for? When a knight comes up, it comes up to represent, for me, a person of integrity, honor, devotion to a higher calling. I think that most everybody that would be watching this wants the best life for themselves. They want the best life for their family. They want the best life for everybody. What are you fighting for? What are you here for? So, in that way, courage, honor, strength, everything that a knight would represent. And this represents both males, females, or otherwise. This isn't just a male card. I love this, have to fight the devil. Sometimes by turning our back on them. In times of uncertainty, whether that uncertainty is within us or in the outer part of us, in the outside world, we have to remember to be brave and to be courageous. And courage isn't necessarily the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear and doing it anyways. And I'll pat myself on the back and give myself the credit that I deserve for coming out to my parents and the world at large. That took a level of fear and courage to get past that fear. You have something in your life, whether it's starting a business, jumping into a relationship, jumping out of a relationship, dismantling the inner workings that you picked up along the way. But there is something here where I have to remind you how strong you are and how much life is worth fighting for. The best life, peace, and peace, I believe, is all of our birthrights. So, with that, thank you for this. We're up to 10 minutes. I appreciate you so much. So much love to you. And we'll see you next time.